Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, so in this occasion, we are from group 5, are going to present about language acquisition. The group 5 consists of Amalia Nur Insani, Nurul Fahimah, Walidin, Achmad Syukron, and Mahdi Hasbullah. So let's get into the first presentation. It's gonna be delivered by Insani. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So in this first slide, I will explain about the definitions of language acquisition. So what is language acquisition? Language acquisition is the process by which humans acquire the capacity to perceive, produce, and use words to understand and communicate. And language acquisition also means the process where children learn their native language. It consists of abstracting structural information from the language they hear around them and internalizing this information for later use. And these conceptions of language acquisition can explain why someone can produce a theoretically unlimited set of sentences in someone's native language. And then, what are the stages? There are 5 stages, and the first stage is cooing in the age of 6 months. Cooing is used phonemes from every language and the vowel-like sound responding to human sounds. For example, a children demonstrating the cooing stage of language acquisition, and the children produce vowel-like sounds, especially back vowels U and O, in the sounds of oh, and ah. And that's all typical of cooing. And the second is bubbling. It's happened in the age of 19 months. Bubbling is the sound that a baby makes as a combination of consonant vowels. The sound produced by a baby, which is the same sound in the language of the world, that are ma mama or da 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 and ba 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 or na na na. So this stage is selectively used phonemes from their native language, so that it can be different or maybe same in every country in the world. And the third is one word utterances, or we can say as holoplastic stage, and it's happened in the age of 12 months. In this stage, the children start using single words. Holoplastic is the children's first single word which represents to a sentence. Children using one word to express particular emotion state. For example, when I hear my neighbor pronounce a word won, and it means nyuwun, or in Bahasa Indonesia, it means minta. So at that moment, I think it means that the children ask for the food that I am eating. So it represents a sentence. And then telegraphic speech in the age of 2 years. It means multi-word utterances that lack in function. After a few months of producing one-word utterances, children will begin to use two-word utterances. These two-word utterances are usually in the form of noun to noun or noun to verb. For example, doggy bark. Doggy is noun and then bark is verb. But the meaning here is that the dog is barking. And the last stage is normal speech. It's happened in the age of 5 years. So in this stage, almost children normal develop speech, and the children has start to clearly pronounce. And that's all from me. For the next material will be delivered by Nurul Fahimah.
Okay. Insani. Here is what are the two ways of language acquisition. First, language acquisition refers to the way children learn their native language. So it is the mother tongue or their native language, like their language in home. And then second, language acquisition refers to the learning of another language of languages besides the native language. Second, language acquisition is the process by which people learn language in addition to their native language. And then next slide. The next is characteristics of first language acquisition. Here there are four characteristics. First is it is an instinct. So it is triggered by birth and takes its own course, and linguistic input from the environment is needed for the child to acquire a specific language. And then the second is it is very rapid. The amount of time required to acquire one's native language is quite short, or faster or very short than learning second language. And then the third is it is very complete. The quality of first language acquisition is second language. Sometimes children will not forget the native language or the mother tongue unless they difficult to remember the words when they don't use the words for a long time. And then the last is it doesn't require instruction. Many non-linguists think that mothers are important for children to learn to their native language. Instruction by parents are unnecessary, despite the despite the psychological benefits of attention to the child. And then the next slide. Next one. Yeah. Characteristic of second language acquisition. Language uses fluency and written language skills are similar to age level peers. Expressive and receptive language comprehension is also at an advanced level with few errors being made in using the second language. So learning of a second language is done later after puberty and characterized characterized by imperfection and likelihood of being forgotten. So like adult language, it is for a second language, and it predisposes a child to learn any human language by processing the data from the environment and activating the rules of the language which are already contained in universal grammar. So that's from me. Next slide will be delivered by Walidin.
Okay, so my turn is about the language acquisition. I mean, what is language acquisition? What is it consists of? So language acquisition for any generation of children consists of achieving mastery in four main areas. So it consists of four main areas. It is the first one. There is a set of syntactic rules. A set of syntactic rules which specify how sentences are built up out of phrases and phrases out of words. And then the second one is a set of morphological rules which specify how words are built up out of morphemes, like grammatical units smaller than the word. And then number three is a set of phonological rules which specify how words, phrases, and sentences are pronounced. And the last one, number four, it is a set of semantic rules which specify how words, phrases, and sentences are interpreted, like what their meaning is. So it is the simple explanation of mine, my turn. So the next one is going to be delivered by Sukron. Go ahead.
Okay, it's my turn. The logical problem of acquisition. As we know that the logical problem of language acquisition that's it will seem impossible to learn anything about a certain language without first already knowing something about language in general. That's every single child must know what to do expect in language before he or she can actually order the data and he or she is presented with in his or she's surrounding and ascribe meanings to the to words or he or she encounters. And there are many types. For the first type is the evidence of deaf children. The evidence of deaf children. Wait. Wait for a minute. The the evidence of deaf children means if children spoke a language by means of the implementations. So that's why every single child must be taught sign language as they learn to learn and write in the ambient spoken language. And then no child will have excellent communication skills without any result in implementation with their friends. Because the science of language acquisition from an early age leads to normal language acquisition refers to every deaf child should be raised with a sign language as a protection against the harm of late first language acquisition. It's like when the children play with their friend and then they wanna close their communication, he or she, I mean her friend or his friend say bye or goodbye with their friend. And then next is the evidence of pigeon children. The evidence of pigeon children here means if the evidence of pidgin has often happened in areas where multiple groups were trading with each other, or when the group from various were assimilated into a single population and developed every single language with their friend in that area. And then for the child itself, for the children itself, of course, the either indigenous people learned an imperfect version of the language to make it easier for the substrate speaker to learn their communication in their area. Next is there any language gen? Mm, of course, there is a language gen because it makes the language acquisition for the children, for every single children, as a process by which humanism acquired the capacity to perceive and comprehension language with their friend, and then in other words gain the ability to be aware. And I mean, the children with their friends must be aware with their language because they use their language to communicate in their area between children and others friends. And then next is mm, wait 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 is the language faculties separate from others cognitive ability. Based on the language acquisition book, no separate from language faculty and others cognitive because it precisely is it's precious to be closer between her friend or his friend in their child between both. It's like when the wait, wait. When the children acquire a first language, they build up on what they know, conceptual information. They and help create categorize their language for the object, relation, and even that's why the children first set up a conceptual representation their language defines in their area to make it to make easier with to make it easier when the children wanna speak to their his or her friend. That's it from me. Next presentation will be presented by Mahdi Hasbullah. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Sukron. And the next slide is what is over-regularization? The process of extending the application of a rule to items that are excluded from it in the language norm, as when a child used the regular past tense verb ending. So basically, over-regularization is an error in the language acquisition or in the early stage. The next slide, please, Amalia. How does overgeneralization affect language acquisition? Children overgeneralize in the early phase of acquisition, meaning that they apply the irregular rules of grammar to irregular nouns and verbs. Overgeneralization lead to forms which we sometimes hear in the speech of young children, such as quit, eaten, food, and fishes. When in the quit, normally in the irregular, in the dirt is was when, and the eaten is eaten or ate is to be ate, and the food is feed. The next slide, please. Example of over-regularization. A children may even put the s on adjectives when the adjectives are acting as noun, as in this dinner table exchange between my between 3 years old and her mother. In here, Sarah is the child. I want some. You want some what? I want some more. Some more what? I want some more chickens. In linguistics, overgeneralization is the application of grammatical rules in case where it does not apply. The term overgeneralization is most often used in connection with language acquisition by children. Uh, like I said before, for example, a young child might say food instead of fit, overgeneralizing the morphological rule for making plural nouns. Uh, Not just over regulation in the error in the speech error of in the early acquisition for the infant of or the children. There was under extension. Under extension is understanding that a word applies to a specific object but not extending it to the same object in different contexts. For example, they know the word dog but only apply it to the family dog, not to the neighbor dogs. Like he or she know the pet in his home is the dog, but sometimes it's uh, the cat in the neighbors is also she or he said is that it was dog or as the neighbor's dog is not a dog. And the next is over extension, using one term to refer to other objects that might be similar on in the same category. For example, referring to all of their toy as a ball. Uh, we can say sometimes we have cousins or some nephew. They tend to call or her toys is a doll or balls. And the next is segmentation, misusing pause or breaks between words. For instance, saying the cat instead of the cat. And the next is syntax, misusing proper sentence structure. Example include me go school or apple mine. Uh, so yeah, in the error of early in a language acquisition, the parent is not much overacting about it and don't overly correcting it uh, if they are making a error or misspelling speech, they can say it again in the correct form, like in this child. You read some of it too. She read all the reds. Parent, she read the whole thing to you, huh? Child, nah, you read some in here. He is not agree with parent. Parents, oh, the drags, yeah, I read it the beginning of it. And the child is reply, read it, annoyed, surprise. Read. Oh yeah, read. Will you stop that, Papa? And here, the parent is making a mistake, but the child is know what is the true or the right word of it. So that was from me, and maybe you can ask a question later. Thank you. I can I will uh, to Walidin. Okay, thank you, Walidin,
Okay.
for the time.
Thank you, Mahdi, as you have presented your PowerPoint. So we come to the last part of this presentation. It is the end of presentation. So if you have a question, we widely open in the Google Classroom. Thank you so much. I let me finish this presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.